What is up, you heathens and demons, you sinners and saints, you blasphemous, beautiful bastards? Welcome back to The Rage. I am surrounded by atheists tonight, and I love it. I am so happy. I just got out of a debate, and I was in the enemy's territory. So, yeah, now I've got atheists here, and we're going to talk Canadian atheists and the work that Neil, the 604 atheist, and Randolph Richardson is doing north of the border. I'm in Michigan, so I'm talking like not too far north from where I'm at, maybe a bit west, but just a bit. But I'm so glad you guys are here. What's up, Neil, the 604 atheist, Randolph Richardson? Yeah, take the time. Let's hear what you guys are doing, and let's hear all about the Canadian atheists.
Beer.
Yeah, I'm envious. I wish I could, especially after a debate.
Yeah.
Shouldn't you be drinking it before such a debate?
Yeah, well, yeah, back in the day, I'd have been drinking it probably since about 2 in the afternoons.
Day drinking.
Yeah. On my day off, yeah, sometimes around 11 a.m. Yeah.
Well, every month, Andy Hall, Laughing at Disbelief, and myself and Seamus do a Drinking Out Loud podcast, and it's daytime for me, so I'm literally day drinking. It's like 5 for them, so. But I got a clock that has all 5s on it, so it's all good.
That's awesome. I've met Andy a couple times on
the
Damn Sure, the Daily Atheist Morning Show, which I'll be on tomorrow morning, 9 a.m.
Yeah. I haven't been able to watch lately because we've been super busy at work, and now we're making thousands and thousands of liters of fucking hand sanitizer on top of the antifreeze that I usually do.
Wow. Oh, yeah, I've been working a lot more too. Like, it seems like Michigan just doesn't care about a pandemic. We're full throttle.
Well, we're an essential service. Without us, trucks and stuff like that don't go anywhere.
Well, yeah, that's been pretty much me too. Like, maybe the first month I was out of work, and then we went to part-time essential work, and then slowly it's integrated to full-time. Shit, I worked like, I don't know, 80 hours last week. I can't even remember anymore.
For me, the first month was really busy because I work in computers and we need to get clients set up so their staff can work from home. And then after that first month, then it went down. So
yeah. Oh, I bet. Yeah. It'll be a totally different dynamic. But yeah, what's up, guys? I'm glad you're here. I mean, I'm sure, like I said, before the show, I'm pretty sure most know who you are. But just in case they don't, tell them where they can find you. I do have links in the description below. I have links for Canadian Atheists. I have links for your YouTube channel, Randolph, and yours as well, Neil.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, okay. So the Canadian Atheists is an organization that I founded a few years ago because I wanted to make sure that there's a voice for atheism in Canada is not ignored. One of our efforts is to counter the vilification efforts, which often comes from theists, from a lot of Christians and Muslims mainly. And so we counter them. We're not telling people that they shouldn't be saying those things. What we're doing is we're encouraging people to exercise their right of freedom of expression as well in countering it. And by doing this, as more people counter it, those who are spreading the vilification will hopefully think twice about doing it and say, hey, okay, look at this. There's a lot of pushback on this. That's the effect we're trying to put forward. It's more of a gentle pushback, is the approach that we're using.
He's gentle.
And so this, of course, segues nicely into Neil, our community advocate, because we need a guy like Neil who's real aggressive and a real go-getter out there to bring community events, bring them into the spotlight. And he's integral in making sure our community events will work well. But of course, everything's on a bit of a hiatus right now because of the COVID-19 situation. But we do have plans for a number of things. Neil and I have a plan that is to start a program called True North Talk, which is heavily inspired by programs like the Atheist Experience and Truth Wanted and some others that are all kind of offshoots of that. They're wonderful inspiration. They're great shows, and so we're doing something like that here in Canada. Hopefully sooner rather than later. I have to get my renovations completed for this, and because we're going to do this here.
Leaps and bounds recently, so you're
doing a lot faster recently. Yeah, and then another thing we're going to be doing is putting together community get-togethers, sort of like meetup kind of organized events, so that atheists can gather and talk about all kinds of things without the overhead of religion as being part of it. So it'll be just a nice social gathering, because what we see happening is that a lot of people, when they leave religion, they don't have they lose a community. So we're trying to make sure that there's a different community available, that can still be available to people, and so that's what we're trying to build. Of course, again, these plans are on hold right now, unfortunately. So it is something that we are working on, and then we have some other things that we'd like to organize, but we can get into those at a later time, right, Neil?
Yeah.
Well, I think it's
we also
awesome.
donate blood together, so it's something
that's really awesome, especially right
Neil
now.
introduced me to it. My only regret is that I didn't start doing it decades earlier.
Yeah, I've always given blood off and on.
Excellent, thank you.
Yeah, if I can like make the, depending on my job. Some jobs, like I was working for an industry before where it was literally 90-hour weeks and I couldn't make it there. But now I can usually, or when school was in, I could drop my daughter off at school and go and donate plasma and then go home. But now she's not going to school, and they're still open. It's just I haven't been there during the whole pandemic yet. I need to, because that's really needed right now. But I think it's awesome that you guys actually knew each other in real life. Like I knew that you knew each other on the internet. I often saw you, Randolph, on Neil's channel. But yeah, I just recently, like you guys actually know each other and see
You're
each other in
thinking
real
of the
life.
April Fool's episode, aren't you? Where he announced a mystery guest, and then he was the mystery guest, and I was the host because I don't have a deconversion story. I was honored.
Yeah, I do remember that. Yeah,
that was fun.
Yeah, and so and what you were talking about community, like I am that atheist. We were kind of talking about it before the show. To where, like I've been out of the closet now for, I don't know, 6-7 years, but I was an atheist in the closet for 10 to 13 years. Like I've been an atheist over 20 years now. So like I was in the closet. I had no community around me. Since I've been out of the closet as an atheist, like this is who I am. I was spoken about it. Now I really have no community at all, like none. Like the only community I have is what I found here online and doing this YouTube thing. Everybody, like even like the few atheists that I actually know, don't talk about it. They don't want to talk about it. They don't want to associate with me because I talk about it.
Yeah, and you see, this is the thing that part of these community events is, part of it ties into normalizing atheism, because there are unfortunately many religious people who think that it's abnormal, but we're born this way. So we're born not believing in deities. This is actually normal.
Yeah, we're also born with not a capability to do so.
Sure, but that's irrelevant.
Yeah. I don't think so.
Yeah,
I don't think it's irrelevant. We are raised in families that are usually, we'll say, except for non-religious families, because I know people that their parents were never believers, but we're raised in families that have belief systems. So we end up believing in whatever our families believe.
Oh, sure. Yeah. But what I meant is it's natural that we don't believe in deities. It's something we either learn or create on our own.
Correct.
As people. Yeah.
Correct.
Well, and yeah, and I think that community is important, and you should have a certain amount of freedom to be free to speak the things that you believe. And oftentimes atheists, we don't get that. And you know, atheists, we have disagreements with each other. I mean, there's really nothing that really ties us together outside of we no longer believe in these deities that we were, most of us were raised into, or more and more, I think, are actually never raised into it at all.
And that's why I often say that, you know, we're among the most diverse demographics in the world, because we have that single characteristic of not believing in deities that ties us together. Other than that, there are people with all sorts of different moral standards, different ideas on different philosophies on how to live their life well, all kinds of different dietary habits, different family cultures, different ideas about whether they should be working or not, and the kind of work they like. The variations all over the place, different hobbies. It just goes on and on. And
some atheists still believe in woo type shit too. So.
Oh yeah, there are.
Oh yeah, I mean arguments over what is atheism, what isn't atheism. I mean, we just bicker and bicker, and that's fine. That's like what a lot of us like to do. But there really, I mean, there are pockets where there are communities forming, and you're doing that there where you guys are, and I applaud you. I think we need more of that. We need to be free. You feel free when you have community around you that supports you in the things that you believe. So a lot of us don't have that, and it becomes a serious issue. And there's serious issues that resolve off of that.
Well, some of our provinces are very strongly religious compared to BC, where we're in British Columbia here, the province on the west end of Canada, and we're going to start here, but the long-term goal is to roll out across Canada so that there can be different communities, community groups all set up everywhere under our banner, because then that way it makes it easy for people to find these groups and get connected with people. Yeah. That's what we're after.
Yeah, and I think that's just awesome, and I wish I especially now in the Trump era, I wish I could move to Canada with all of my heart, with all of my heart. All right, so I'll get to my questions, and I'm gonna pretty much like stick to the wording of the questions just so you can answer them how you would like.
Sure.
Yeah, right there. So first question is, and you've pretty much already answered it, but what is the Canadian Atheist, and what is your mission?
Yeah, so our purpose. We like to use the word purpose, of course, because mission comes across as religiously loaded, but I know that's
I was
what
thinking
you mean.
Star Trek, but
yeah. So basically, I think helping to normalize atheism and to counter the vilification efforts are part of what we're doing. We also take positions against preferences to religion when we find it we're starting out on this. We're still fairly new, so we haven't done a whole lot of this, but there are other aspects of that affect atheists here as well, such as when there's a violation of our Charter of Rights and Freedoms, such as in Alberta right now. There's Bill 1 that's been proposed that has received royal assent, so it is part of the law now, and they've got essential infrastructure designations set up so that it allows them to shut down protests, basically, the government there. And the government there is rather right-wing and very Christian. So that is a concern, because if the Black Lives Matter comes into protest, they can arrest all of them. If people are protesting the pipeline, they can arrest all of them. If a bunch of atheists decide to gather in a park, they can arrest all of them. All of us. And this is of course a serious concern. So that's why we will push back against that, because we are concerned about people's rights and everyone being equal under the law here, and due process and all of that. That's essential. This is foundational. It's not directly affecting atheists, but it's an indirect impact that it can have. And so we do need to be vigilant on these kinds of things. Where it's at right now is that I have made attempts to contact the Lieutenant General in Alberta, whose rights are also violated in that, by the way, and I'll get into that in a moment. But if they haven't responded, and I'm going to make one more attempt, I think, and then after that I will have to escalate to the federal general to get this taken care of properly. There is a chain of command there, and so where the lieutenant has their rights violated is that under our charter, it states that every person is equal under the law, and because she is granted under Bill 1 to have more power than other people, because she can pass laws without going through the normal processes. She can bypass it. that is also a violation of her rights. Even though her rights are greater, it's still a violation technically. So that's the angle that we're going at, and that has to be corrected.
Yeah, I've always wondered about like just, and we'll get to it later in the interview because I'm going to replace question 5 with pretty much this, but equal rights are important, and it's important to fight for equal rights on in all regards. And what we see happening on the streets here in America is something that I support, and I believe everybody, no matter your political stripes, should be supporting what's happening.
Yeah.
But when it comes to atheists, we are since we are such a diverse demographic, and we are still such a small demographic. I think it's even equally important that we are aware that we should be protecting our rights, that we should be part of these conversations as well, because if we don't, then nobody's really going to care if our rights are taken away, because nobody really likes us at this point all that much. We have to protect and safeguard against, for our own equal rights, since we are such a small minority right now.
So freedom of religion, freedom of association, freedom of opinion, freedom of expression, and other such rights, they all tie into our personal liberties, liberty of the person. And it is, if these rights are taken away, they're also a threat to people who are religious, just as much as it is to people who are atheist. It goes both directions. So religious people should be on board with us for this. Otherwise, they could lose their rights for freedom of expression or freedom of religion as well.
Yeah, and I think we're seeing here in the States a blindness to that. They really think that, when they promote like prayer in school or teaching young earth creationism in school, they're opening the doors for Islam to be taught in schools, or even Satanism to be taught in schools. They don't quite understand that freedom of religion also implies freedom from religion. Exactly. And that's a huge thing that's going on in the States right now.
It's not freedom without that important element, because that's fundamental to freedom. Any restriction, any oppression, any coercion, like if somebody says, well, you have to say, a compulsion to express yourself in a certain way is also an oppressive violation of freedom. It's still not freedom then. You're right. When you mentioned the Black Lives Matter protest, and what I see there are a lot of people who they have self-respect, and they're expecting that this be supported by society, and that's why they're out there. They want respect, and they, I think, have a reasonable expectation, a reasonable entitlement to that, because they're human beings. We're all human beings, right?
Yeah, I agree. And I hate, and that's such a nuanced conversation. But I hate. I hear from Christians again. I'm talking to crazy, like not all Christians. I'm talking to some people right now.
Oh yeah.
But what I hear from them is, it's just a bunch of Marxists and communists, and they're ruining whatever movement they could have. And I'm like, it's not about that at all. I don't know where you're getting that. It's just a way to demonize it here and turn people against it, I think, which is sad. But I mean, we're seeing, like, there was breaking news today. I'm just now seeing that the NBA players are now striking because of recent events, where they postponed the games last night, and now the players are striking. So I'm gonna have to catch up on the news. I've been busy all day researching biblical slavery.
I gave you a few pointers earlier. I hope they were helpful.
I used quite a bit of what you sent my way in my rebuttal, and then I had help from Dr. Josh.
I like how you ended it, that you think you did a really good job, because you stated what you proved, and it was consistent with what the challenge was in the title of the video. That was fantastic the way you summarized it.
I appreciate it.
And it put them on the spot a little bit, because there they are with the chat disabled, unfortunately.
Yeah. I can't wait to go back and look at it, just because I have a sense, but once I watch it back, then I'll know, like, all right, this really happened.
I thought you did great.
Oh, thank you.
Just want to address something in the chat there.
Oh yeah, go for it, Neil.
Rod Sherwood said Keith's is good beer. Yes, it is.
You see, this is
See, I've never tried that.
This is our community advocate interacting with the community. He's perfect at it. You see.
I've never had that beer.
That was I don't know if you guys can get it down there. Maybe I don't know. Maybe you might get it as an import because it's from Nova Scotia, or I think so. But I'm not drinking that today. That was from yesterday. I'm drinking a Canadian classic called Pilsner. So,
yeah, I'm boring. I'm drinking Sprite. All right, so this question is really just like of personal interest to me, and I think both of you can really chime in and give me your experiences on this. And I know you mentioned like you're not in one of the more religious provinces, but do you experience much pushback in Canada when it comes to expressing your atheism openly?
You want to start with that, Neil?
Say that again. I'm sorry, my headphone cut out.
Do you experience much pushback in Canada when it comes to expressing your atheism openly?
I haven't personally, but I've heard others that I know personally have had some pushback. It's nothing usually very big. It's just like they'll be like, let's say I had a friend that was in a restaurant one time and they were discussing something at a table, and I guess somebody behind them had overheard the conversation. They were religious, and they said to them, you guys are Satanists and blah, this typical rhetoric. And they said, no, actually we're not. We were just talking about a charity thing that we're starting up to help homeless people in the neighborhood, kind of thing, community-wise. And we don't believe you, and blah, blah, blah. And then the manager of the restaurant came over and kicked them out of the restaurant.
Oh,
and they weren't allowed. Apparently the manager of the restaurant was quite religious. So they kicked them out, and they're no longer welcome to that restaurant anymore. I'm not going to name any names or anything like that. But
he kicked out the religious people or kicked out the atheists?
Kicked out the atheists.
Wow. Okay.
Yep.
Huh.
Yeah,
well, I heard a kerfuffle, and it was probably the atheists' fault because how can we be moral without God, right? That kind of thing.
Well, that's
I experienced that here in the States, and I've had pushback from Christians that I've been dealing with. Like I just make up these stories. Like, I was literally fired from a job because of my tattoo that I got, and it's like, you make that. I'm like, what is so hard to believe that a religious boss is going to fire you over a blatantly disrespectful tattoo on your arm? I do not have the same freedoms that you as a religious person here in America has. And that's what I was so interested in it about. Cause I know that there's parts of Canada that are very like progressive and very not so religious, but then I knew that there were parts that were very religious. And I was just interested. Like, do you guys experience some of these same things that we experience down here?
I have. Like Neil said, it's rare. It's not a common thing. I've had a few different clients over the years when they found out that I don't follow their religion. They basically they ended the contract. That was it. The first one was a long time ago, and they were Christians, and they were the whole company. They were only hiring Christians all this time. I came recommended through a friend. Which is how I get most of my business. And they, at one of these company parties, they started asking me about it. So I knew it was a touchy issue. So I said, I'm just more into into Buddhism, because I thought that tends to put people at ease. I wasn't as outspoken back then, you see. And then the guy started questioning me about which type of Buddhism, and he started listing a bunch off. And I said, I'm more of a generalist. I had to come up with something like that, right? And then later they found out that I'm not into any of it at all. So that was basically the end of it. They paid their bills, but I didn't get any more work from them. And then later there were the Scientologists who, they never mentioned this at work. I noticed the boss's shelf one day. He had all the books, shelves full of the Dianetics series. But it never came up at work. And then one day, one of the employees, after I worked there for at least 6 months to a year, and they had asked me just point blank. And so I said, no, I'm not into any of that. And always gentle, kind of diplomatic response. Okay, nothing of it. And then after about a week or so, I started noticing the same car behind me. But usually a block or two away. And so I ended up calling the RCMP about it, our police force here. And so the officer went and he called me back after he pulled the driver over. He's familiar with them, private investigators who work for Scientologists. And then I started putting it all together. Okay, I think I know where this came from. But I just left it. But after that, my contract was ended. So they paid their bills too, but the contract was ended. It was just it's very subtle the way it's done here. They're not so open and outright about it. I think people are more careful because we do have laws that part of our Charter of Rights and Freedoms. It's illegal to discriminate against people based on association or sex or sexual orientation or race or things like that. So, and that's been since the early '80s. That's been part of our Constitution. So,
yeah, that's and you know it. I never really thought it would hurt me like it did until it actually happened. Like you know, when I came out and started just telling everybody I was atheist, at least people in my family that were inquisitive or people that asked me, it's like I felt like I had accepted that would happen, but when it actually happened, it messed me up. I was like, I mean, they fired me over that. You know, it's and then when Christians tell you, well, you just make that up, I'm like you don't understand like what you go through when that happens, and then especially being a single father and you got to raise your daughter and you got to worry about putting food on the table. I mean, it's very easy to sit there behind your keyboards and question, but like these are just the things that we face just being a minority. But not only a minority, like we're a minority that believes in the opposite of what is fundamental to everything that most people believe, which is a God, and they take that to heart when they find out about us, and it's something that we'll get to. Like it's in question 5. Yeah, it's why we have to normalize ourselves.
It's injustice.
Yeah.
In the chat down there, phony Beatlemaniacs says, I'm a believer and I think atheists and religious people can come together on inequality issues as it touches us all. And then below, I'm not triggered by non-belief. I'm triggered by being treated as less than, and I'm on board with that. Absolutely.
I am on board with that too.
Yeah, me too. That's why I always try to give Christians respect until I don't get it back. You know, like grant me the freedom to be myself and to speak freely. And I will grant you that freedom as well. But more often than not, I'm not granted that freedom. I'm expected to be a thing. Or I've recently had people, Christians seem to really want to tell me like they can tell me how to atheist now. And I'm like, no, I am me. I am the atheist that I am. I will atheist how I atheist. Yeah, I will atheist how I atheist. Telling me
it's an interesting usage of the word.
I like atheisting.
I would say one other thing that I've experienced from time to time, and it usually only happens with people who are knocking on the door to try to encourage me to join their church or their mosque or whatever. And although we've only had that happen twice with Muslims doing that, it's mostly Christians of some sort who are bigger on knocking on the doors. But they, as soon as I tell them, oh, I'm an atheist, sometimes they'll, if there are multiple people there, one of them will respond, oh no, it's like a big shock, like, oh, this is terrible. They feel so awful.
The babies.
Yeah, I know. It's like they're just so concerned about it.
Yeah.
Did you say babies?
Like, and I don't even like really go out. I don't go out announcing. I don't go out announcing that I'm an atheist because of that. And you know, if they figure out my tattoo, I literally get reactions like, yeah, or I will wear my shirts. You know, like I that's something that I do now in public, because I used to only wear my shirts here when I was recording, my fiction shirt, any of my atheism stuff.
Wear it all everywhere.
But now I wear it everywhere. But I don't know, something that you said earlier that really got me. I think most atheists coming out of religion has went through this very same thing, at least, is that I'm a Buddhist. explanation when you're asked the question, because I did that.
Way to diffuse things in advance.
Yeah, I did that, and it actually led me to actually studying Buddhism for like a year. And I was like, yeah, it's not really for me.
Oh, you too, huh?
Yeah.
Boy, amidst our diversity, look at all the similarities we keep finding.
Yeah. I wonder, atheist. Let me know in the side chat or in the comment section below.
Neil,
Have you had?
Neil, you went the Wiccan route, didn't you?
Yeah,
I did.
Yeah, you went that. You went a different. But I think we all do.
They're nice too, though.
Reach out when we're hunting for answers. I think it's probably a natural thing that we reach out to other things, try other things, try different flavors. Tell me about
different flavors. That's a great idea.
Yeah. I figured that a gummy was coming.
You're predictable, Neil.
Well, not always.
I believe I can still ask this one. Let me make sure.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, what is tell me about Atheist Appreciation Day?
This was something I started on a whim, just kind of as a bit of a joke at first, and it slowly caught on. There were a couple of people started really promoting it, and I didn't even ask them to. It was really neat. So the idea is that I thought at the time we need some kind of international kind of day like the United Nations sets up for a whole bunch of different groups. We need something for atheists, and there was some kind of chat going on in Google Plus that I saw.
Oh yeah, you remember telling me about this.
Yeah, and so of course this guy was being really nasty. So the response was, "Here's Atheist Appreciation Day," and it was on the date that he was doing the vilification, and so the response was sent to him, and no comment from him. So I thought, okay, that's how we celebrate it. By when people ask you any question on that day, the answer is no comment. And so politicians, be careful. If you answer no comment to any question on October 5th, you might be endorsing Atheist Appreciation Day. But maybe that's what you want to do.
I think we need to spread this. Everybody should be doing this.
Okay, I'm all for that. I actually got onto a local radio station a few years ago, and they're asking me about this, and so I told them, and a whole bunch of people responded, "Why are you wasting your time?" It's not a waste of time; it's just fun. So,
well, yeah, I did something like that recently, not in regards to atheism, but just in regards to the 4th of July and all lives matter. I was trying to trend hashtag all countries matter on the 4th of July. But I'm just little old me. I didn't do much damage.
I just put a link in there in the private chat for you. There is a website for it at www.atheistappreciationday.com.
Oh yeah, I don't have that one. Yeah, I'll make sure to get that one in the description. So atheist. We have an appreciation day. We are appreciated by ourselves.
Yeah, we appreciate ourselves, but hey, it all ties into normalization and self-respect or something like that.
Well, isn't there? Don't they have a World Atheist Day thing?
Yeah, but this I created before they created that stuff.
Oh,
yeah. So you've got copyright.
Yeah.
So I can't remember if this was an old campaign. What is atheism everywhere? And that'll probably segment into like the 5th question would be, why is it so important to normalize atheism?
Yeah, atheism everywhere is part of the overall strategy to normalize atheism, and it's one that I do probably need to do more maintenance on in the near future because I have unfortunately neglected it a bit. But we take the ash symbol, which is the combination of the letter A and letter E, into a single character, and we're basically making an attempt to appropriate it for atheism everywhere. And I don't expect we'll be successful with that, but it's fun to do nonetheless. And so just the lowercase letters, if you have to decide, just stick with lowercase ones. It's fine. The idea is I want to expand on it to show all these different areas of life wherein atheists are a normal part of it. Because, we're not out there advertising that, hey, we're this, we're that, we're scientists, we're teachers, we're doctors, we're lawyers, we're judges, we're politicians, we're all sorts of different things. We do all sorts of, or we work with chemistry on a daily basis like Neil does. And there's things like that, or the kind of work that you do, and on and on. So I want to put all these kinds of examples up there so people can look through all the different industries we work on. We want to have everything. Even Catholic clergy have atheists. There's a pastor.
More than people realize.
There's a pastor here in Canada who's an atheist, and there's and the Catholic Church even tried to remove her, and they couldn't because that would be a violation of her charter rights. So I'm so glad Greta Vosper won that. She does a great job. She's competent. People keep attending her sermons apparently, and the church is doing well. And so why does the church want to get rid of her? Because she's not believing as they do. But apparently she doesn't mention it during the sermons. It's just what she does in her private life. So there's the Clergy Project in the US that has a whole bunch of Catholic clergy who've joined that, and they're just secretly have joined it because they don't want to get into any kind of trouble, I suppose. So, you'll find non-religious people in all sorts of different organizations and institutions throughout the world. It's not uncommon at all. And that's part of normalizing, is we want to show with the Atheism Everywhere moniker that there is this is just common. So the more that we can show that it's common, the easier it is to argue that it's normal.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. That's always been, like, even in the early edgier days of my channel, I think that's always been kind of my intention with everything that I do, good, bad, shitty, everything is an attempt to normalize atheism and show that, hey, I'm just this normal guy. Like I didn't have to go to college and study all this philosophy. I'm a normal dude that has lived in the ghetto and has struggled his whole life. And here I can come to this simple conclusion that I don't believe in a God. And I'm just a normal human being. Nothing changed about me. In fact, over the years, I am a much better person than I ever was as a Christian. And that's fundamentally like my ultimate point with the channel. Even when at the worst of my trolling, that's my point. And I think most of us that are on here doing this, I think that's what we ultimately are striving for. And we all have our own ways of doing it. What Neil is doing, having all the different people on his channel and just talking about how they came out of their religion, it's what's needed, because we are everywhere. Atheists are everything. We are, again, there's no we are such a broad spectrum, maybe one of the broadest spectrums you can imagine, because we simply just answer a question no, yet we are judged for that answer.
Yeah, we don't conform to an idea of a celestial dictator and all that.
Yeah.
I think I firmly believe that the work that Neil does on his channel with the deconversion stories is extremely important to this, because it actually, I believe, helps people who are considering leaving and being honest about who they are as non-believers to see countless examples of this. He's got hundreds of videos now, I think. How many do you have, Neil?
I think I'm closing in on 300.
Wow.
Yeah, so I've been watching like a year and a half myself, as much as I can.
It's phenomenal. And it's important, because then people can see, wow, look at all these people who've left religion, and they can anticipate that they're going to have some of these kind of situations themselves. And just by seeing that other people have experienced it, I suspect it'll make it easier for them to make the change and become who they really are and be true to themselves.
And not feel so alone. Like, I've done a couple videos now on, suicide is such a problem for atheists coming out of religion. They are isolated, often shunned by their families. There's like really no escape for them. And it's been a huge problem. And I've talked about it quite a bit, and I've gotten such great response whenever I do. But I think that what you're talking about, just having this community, having this has got to help so many people. I didn't have this when I was first coming to these conclusions. I famously didn't know about any of this really until the whole Matt Powell thing. And I went on Sir's channel, and he was like, yeah, let me tell you about a bunch of YouTubers that feel the same way you do, I didn't know, and I don't think a lot of people know. So like the more shows, the more people we have just talking about this, the more normal it does become. That's why I try to open my channel up to everybody. I don't want nobody not to be able to come on and tell me why they don't believe in God or why they are what they are, whether it's Christian, theist, or whatever. I want everybody to be able to come on. I want to have the conversation with everybody.
And that's good for the community.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Neil, I mean, what Neil's doing though is even better because we've all lived that story. At least most of us, unless you're David Worley in the chat, who's a lifelong atheist, never had to come out of no religion. You know,
oh, that's me too. Same. I've been an atheist since birth.
Oh, I must have missed. I think I caught that, but then you said the whole Buddhist thing, and I'm like, oh no, you're a former religious guy, of course.
No, I get that a lot. People often actually tell me they think I'm a Christian because they've never heard me swear online. They've never seen me write any swear words. So it's just somehow that's a differentiation. No, again, it's an example of our diversity, right?
and which is funny because I've been hearing more and more Christians swearing online like it's not a big problem. You know, like I'm like,
I know some who swear, and I know
this isn't Christianity.
I would say most of the religious people I know don't swear. Only some do.
Just want to. Dawn was asking me a question, I think, in that chat there.
Oh, let me find
about potassium acetate and water.
Oh, science questions.
A bit of a reaction on that one.
Was that a pun that you've intentional pun there?
Yeah, well, you know, I mean, yeah.
I wish that I could do chemistry like Neil does, but I'm afraid that if I did, I'd be more Breaking Bad than Neil the 604 atheist.
well, what it is it's when you potassium. Well, you mix potassium carbonate with acetic acid, you get potassium acetate, and you can put it in water, and it's an acid-base neutralization reaction that happens. Basically, water begins to form semi-hydrate at around 40 to 41 degrees, I think, Celsius, which is
just shy of 42. There's that number again.
42.
See, a lot of people stumbled into this community. That's funny. I'm not alone. I'm not alone.
I've known Purple since
Bionic
day one.
Yeah, Bionic Dance is one of the early ones that I came across as well and really liked. I think she does fantastic work.
Kate's awesome.
Yeah, I didn't run across her early. I ran across her about a year and a half ago.
She's very sensible. Yeah, she's very sensible.
Yeah, she has a good channel.
Yeah, and she makes it fun, and she's very sensible. I really enjoy what the content she creates.
Great.
And Christians hate her. I appreciate any, like, if I find just like an overall hatred by Christians, I'm like, she's doing something right. You know,
I've noticed that a number of armchair philosophers seem to dislike her quite strongly as well.
Lori Hayes was saying would love to get more involved. Any suggestions? Yeah, Lori, if you have a deconversion story, I'd love to have you on my channel.
Yeah,
and that way you'll be introduced to many, many more in the community.
Oh yeah, I highly recommend getting on Neil's program. And if you are interested in helping with our organization, you can contact us through the website, CanadianAtheists.ca.
Yep, you'll find many channels in the Atheist Frontier page on that too.
Oh yeah,
and I probably have most of the links in the description below. And
probably,
if you want to get more involved, like in the YouTube scene,
how confident are you in that?
I'm pretty sure. I got him right from the Canadian Atheist. I got him from the webpage from the Canadian Atheist.
Woo!
Yeah. But if you want to become like more involved in the community, a lot of people are doing rooms now. There's rooms all over the place. You can find them. Just jump in and start talking. You'll build your confidence the more that you do it. Again, like Neil's show, deconverting, give your deconversion stories a good way.
Neil makes it easy.
Jump into his after shows, and you never really know who you're mingling with, and a lot of these rooms, and you'll build experience. Like I was such a different person when I first started doing this than what I am now, and it's because I've learned from every conversation that I've had.
Sorry, Don was using the potassium acetate and water combination for de-icing the runways in the military.
Oh,
which you
neat.
can do. Absolutely, yeah.
Huh. Is it quick or does it take a while?
No, it's quick. It's very quick. They use a kind of a. Actually, it's almost. They use something very, very much like it. It like when you're about to take off in the wintertime, like here in Canada, it gets a lot of snow. We had to go to. It was one of the colder years, and we had to fly to Calgary, and they use that stuff on the wings to keep it from icing up, as well.
Yeah, I bet that comes in handy. Being a person that lives in Michigan, I hate icy roads. I hate driving on the ice. I
Dude,
feel
it
like
rains here. People are all over the place.
I feel like I'm gonna have a heart attack every time. And people here, they just drive on it like, oh, I've been doing this my whole life. And I'm like, you are crazy people.
Lori,
Crazy people.
If you have I'm not sure if you have a Twitter, Lori, but you can find me at 604 Atheist on Twitter, and you can send me a message there. My DMs are always open.
Yeah, I should start running banners of the guests' Twitters, but mine is right there as well. And anybody that would ever like to come on my show can get a hold of me at my email. I have an open channel for anybody.
I've got his phone number if you want people.
Yeah. My info is out there, unfortunately.
I think yours is one of the only ones I don't have.
Yeah, not too many people do, and I'm terrible at calling people that when I do get
It's
their
just
numbers.
texting usually.
Yeah.
I got V, I'll text V or Eric Murphy or Jamie or
Sometimes I feel horrible because John always calls me. I never call him. I never text him. Well, hardly ever. And sometimes I just think to myself, like, John has to think I hate him. I'm just
John
not.
cracks me up.
I'm not a phone person. I'm just not a phone person.
Don't need to. Why call when you can say, hey, get on StreamYard, I'll talk to you.
Yeah, or we could talk on Discord. It's so much easier now that I'm back on Discord. All right, so what is the Canadian Atheist Code of Conduct?
Okay, so
Don't be a dick.
I'm kicked out. I'm an asshole.
we specifically state that we don't have a code of conduct. A lot of organizations do have a code of conduct that their members have to follow, and so we've pointed out that we actually don't have one. The laws of our country already suffice. There's we don't need to reiterate that stuff, which is what a lot of codes of conduct do anyway. And as advocates for freedom, I think if we had a code of conduct, that would probably seem contradictory. So the decision was made to state that we don't have a code of conduct. This ties into the diversity of atheists once again. We have people like there are unfortunately atheists who do some very bad things too. That doesn't preclude them from being atheists, and we would be in the wrong, I think, if we were to say you can't be an atheist. We would be in the wrong to pick and choose who can and can't be an atheist. So this would be something we just don't want to be part of policing all that. It's really an individual thing, and it is literally about freedom, all this. One of the bad ones I would have an example of would be Craig Hicks, who a few years ago killed 3 young ladies over a parking spot. Turned out they're Muslims, and he's also quite anti-theistic online. And so some people tried to connect the dots and say, oh, he did that because he's an atheist or he's an anti-theist. And he specified quite clearly, apparently, that he did that because he was because he was upset about the parking dispute. So, he obviously has some other issues there if he's going to shoot somebody over a parking dispute.
Yeah, you think?
And it wouldn't have mattered whether he's religious or atheist, theist or atheist. It wouldn't have made a difference in that case. He'd probably still flip that way. That's my opinion. And Sam Harris did some really good coverage on him a number of years ago, right after that happened, and provided a lot of good perspective on that. That he can, as a neuroscientist, I think his explanations could be quite good, and it's a good one to listen to.
I remember that story, and I remember thinking the same thing because all you heard about it was atheist kills Muslims, and they don't provide any no evidence that the atheists kill the Muslim because they're Muslims. There was this parking dispute. I think that they were neighbors that had argued quite a lot. You never hear when it's the Christian shooter walking into a school,
or abortion clinic.
Or an abortion clinic, Christian terrorist or anything. But I do remember that specifically, hearing those words over and over again, atheist kills Muslim. I remember that.
Yeah, and yet they're ignoring the Muslims in the Islamic State who were burning people alive in the desert. And it was horrific, those things that are going on, or they're blinding them when they return them to the military or things like that. Just last moment doing that. It's just horrible, horrible things they did to people. And then you've got Muslim groups come along and say, oh, they're not Muslims. Okay. It's nice that you're trying to distance yourself, but you really don't get the chance. You don't have the right to tell if somebody else is choosing to follow the religion or not. You really don't have that choice. You don't have any authority on that. And just like how we look at it with this code of conduct stuff, we don't have the authority to decide who is or isn't an atheist. So, and if they're being discriminated against here, even if they are criminals, if they're being discriminated against here, that's a separate issue, and that's still, they still are equal under the law, and they still deserve to be treated fairly in the justice system, just like everybody else.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. I've ran into problems sporadically since I started doing YouTube with it. I think that being an atheist doesn't mean you're an atheist like I am. I learned that the hard way. Like, I was very naive. I thought that all atheists were lefties and they were secular humanists, and I'm going to find an atheist and we're going to have this hippie commune somewhere. And that's not atheism. There's
I'm left. I'm secular humanist.
There's a lot of us, but there's also a lot of very right-wing atheists. There's a lot of atheists, like you said, that get into the supernatural still, or don't care about it at all. Like, we're such this broad spectrum. I don't want to limit who I'm talking to. Now, we can have disagreements, and that shows the humanity of atheism. When atheists have disagreements with each other, that shows, hey, we're still human. We still have these disagreements. It all ties into normalizing atheism. Yeah.
Which is why we have atheists that believe in supernatural. I wanted to be a ghost hunter at one time.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And you still can.
Yeah. There's none to hunt.
At one point, I literally thought I had seen past lives and shit like that, and it's like, oh, I took some peyote,
Purple rhymes with orange. He's chatting with David Worley. I see there. I like both those guys. Purple rhymes with orange was making a comment here that it's a way to vilify an entire group because of one bad actor. He used a different word than bad actor, but
he used asshole.
There you go.
Asshole.
Yeah.
There you go. There you go, Purple.
Yeah, they keep trying to trip me up and get me to say stuff, but it's not going to work, guys. You keep trying, it's not going to work. But it's an important
sign of intelligence.
There's people who are, unfortunately, even in the media, and they have a large audience, and they can make those kind of statements, and it is part of what I call team vilify. So thank you, Purple Rhymes for Orange, for making that point. Yeah.
I don't have any. I don't want to do this, but we do have Duncan Atheism in the chat who wants to come on.
Well, I've chatted with him before. I quite enjoy chatting with him. So yeah.
Leo, that is false. Leo, I don't know what he's. Rage invite me so Neil can defend atheism with me present.
Why do I have to defend atheism? Atheism is only I don't believe in gods. That's it. That's all it is.
Yeah. And that's right. That's exactly right. Atheism.
I don't have to defend it.
It's a classification of not believing in deities. There's no
if you want to talk about
defended.
Me not believing in gods and defending that belief, then that's a different story.
Yeah, but that's a whole different category. Yeah,
no convincing evidence that any exist.
But hello to Duncan Atheism. Thanks for attending. I appreciate it.
Darth.
Yeah, Darth Dawkins, he's also known as. Yeah. So I try to use their current names.
No, it's not. No, lacking belief is not an indirect denial of anything.
That's right.
If I don't believe in UFOs, am I now denying that they exist? No, I just don't see any evidence of them.
That's correct.
Exactly.
That's logical, and that's how it is in philosophy too. Now, it's funny. Some of these armchair philosophers I've encountered will say stuff like, well, if you tell me you're an atheist, then you're not telling me anything and we can't have a conversation. And to that I'll say, well, if somebody was to tell you that they're a theist, they wouldn't be telling you very much either. Or if they tell you they're an anti-theist, you got to ask more questions. That's the whole point of dialogue. If you can't, if you're not willing to ask more questions, the fault is not mine. The fault is yours. You're the one who has to take initiative here. You're the one who's leading the conversation. So it's a ridiculous claim, and it's all centered around limiting the scope by removing the fundamental baseline, that classification of not believing in deities. There are different ways people use the word, but they all have they share that same characteristic of not believing in deities. So that's what we're presenting, and that is key to normalizing atheism, because the beauty of being an atheist is that you're free. You have nothing to defend. They can attack you all they want, and those arrows will just keep on flying because they won't hit anything. There's no target to hit. And that's what frustrates them so much. They want us to be anti-theistic, but we're not. Some of us are.
Yeah, some are, some aren't.
Okay, Darth, or Duncan Atheism, as you're calling yourself here. Yes, SJ, that's Randolph.
Hello, SJ Thomason, yes.
What you just spouted there is what you believe, so it means nothing. You're saying that God is ultimate. How do you know that? You don't know that.
He has an onus of justification.
What if I said, no, sorry, but Odin is ultimate? He's way stronger than God. What are you going to do?
I've seen the memes on that. They're quite good.
Yeah, I mean, God literally got his ass beat by another god in the Bible. Yes. Ocean Keltoy does a really good video about it. Yes. No, Duncan, I'm doing an interview. I'm not going to let you come in and hijack the interview. If you would like to have a conversation with Neil,
hi SJ.
We might be able to work that out, but that would be up to Neil, and that would be up to you. And I don't know, you're so tiring. It's always the same thing, Darth.
Even though we don't agree on shit, the guy's still a human being. So let's try it.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't really no issues with Darth outside of just it's
interesting.
No, Kasuchi, I appreciate that you're focused on your show, and you're dealing with scheduled guests, so that's what he needs to do, schedule it.
I made that mistake.
In your opinion, Duncan.
I made that mistake with Mama Atheist. We were having a great climate change discussion, and then Matt Powell came in, and he's like, "Let me on," and I'm like, "All right," and I ruined the conversation. And I disrespected Mama Atheist in the process. So, I learned from my mistakes, and I'm not trying to, like, Darth, I've told you several times, if you want to come on and talk to me, you can. Just schedule, email me like a normal human being, and don't come into the chats trolling.
I have to make one more comment. One more comment.
Go for it. Asking if Duncan Atheism is the same
they
as
answered.
Dawkins. They are.
Yeah, they're the same people, SJ.
Yeah, same person.
Lacking belief in a transcendental necessity, whatever the fuck that means, is an indirect. No, so you're telling me if there's some tribe on an island somewhere that's never come in contact with the entire God concept,
the Paraha
they don't have a belief in God, so they're now in denial of that God that they don't even know exists? You're wrong.
Well, I know of such a tribe. It's called the Paraha.
and he is like perfect evidence that we do, just our very existence triggers some Christians, not all, but just triggers some Christians. They cannot stand the fact that we answer that question no. So Darth has to come in and pose all of these ludicrous things that he likes to talk about to make us the bad people that we obviously are, because we answered this question no. This is what's so important about normalizing atheism, is because of people like Darth Dawkins.
I think what he's doing is what I've typically encountered with a lot of theists and a few armchair philosophers, is to attempt to shift a burden of proof onto me. And I find, like, with the conversations I've had with Duncan Atheism, he spends a lot of time trying to nail down some kind of position that I'll take, and I think it's a challenge for him that he enjoys, because we usually don't get very far in these conversations. Last time was on MathPig's channel, and it went pretty good, actually, and but then it kind of went downhill at some point, and those two, MathPig and Duncan Atheism, are probably not the best mixture.
Yeah, but Maynard says it best. Your argument is precept, so it doesn't even stand up.
Yeah,
which is right.
my last interaction with him,
Yeah.
he told me I'm the type of person that invites the family over for Thanksgiving dinner, but doesn't cook the turkey. That's my experience with
Why cook it when you can order
Duncan
one?
Atheism. Duncan Atheism. All right. So, how does one become a member of Canadian Atheists? Now, I assume that you have to be Canadian, but maybe you don't. And if
there's no such requirement.
All right. Well,
no.
Does somebody become a member?
Okay, so just first, I'll deal with that question you had because it is an interesting one. There are sometimes people think that they have to be Canadian or they have to be an atheist, and we don't discriminate on those grounds. So everybody's welcome. And even if we had wanted to, we intentionally don't want to, but even if we had wanted to, we wouldn't be allowed to do that legally because our Charter of Rights and Freedoms forbids discrimination. So we wouldn't be able to legally discriminate that way anyway. So we have no choice. We have to accept your membership no matter where you're from or who you are. So yeah, to become a member, and we appreciate all the membership that we have because it helps keep the lights on, helps to keep things running, and once we have more membership, more donations, we'll be able to do a lot more as well. So because we're still a fairly new organization, we struggle. We need more members, and we are. Our website at www.canadianatheists.ca, there is a membership link right across the top, and you can find a mail-in form that you can print off a PDF, or you can sign up online with PayPal. And there's also a donation page for people who want to donate a different amount. The membership fee is only $42 per year Canadian. Is that number 42 again?
Cheap like borscht. Also, I want to interject there as well, which you can also find on the website. If you are Canadian and you are a blood donor, you can be a member of two of our blood donor groups. One would be the Canadian Atheists blood donor group, and it'll tell you how on the website, and also how to join my Partners for Life group that honors my father's commitment to the blood donations that he did in his lifetime. And
we'll make sure we have the link on there for that later.
I think you have that too.
Okay.
I think you do, but double check. I may be wrong.
I will. Yeah, we'll make sure.
So if you guys want to become part of, I'll put it to you this way. Canadian Blood Services told me that I'm the only person in Canadian history to start a group that went off that big, that fast. In the first year, we broke my dad's record, which was 532 donations, which is unheard of in blood donation Partners for Life group history. So I'm pretty proud of that fact, and I'm always looking for more people to join up.
We would
Don't
really
be afraid of the needle. You can't even fucking feel it. The lady I had yesterday, I'm like, did you put... Oh, shit, it started. She's like, yeah. Oh, yeah. I go, I didn't even feel that one.
Yeah, they're usually pretty good.
They make it easy and painless. We would really like to get 5,000 people in the Partners for Life Canadian Blood Services group. And even if people only donate blood occasionally and not doing it every 2 months or 3 months, that's still okay. You can be part of this. And it costs nothing to join these Partner for Life Canadian Blood Services groups.
And Darth is misrepresenting my lack of interest in debating him as cowardice, which is why he sends his little peons in with little chicken heads all the time, which just cracks me up, man.
And they usually do that until
you're helping your algorithm, Rage. So.
I will confront one thing that Duncan Atheism has put in the chat. He says, not one atheist is willing to defend atheism in the face of opposition here.
You don't have to defend atheism.
That's the whole point of going on to MathPig's channel with him. And I'm still willing to do that because there's nothing to defend. He's going to have to show what there is that needs to be defended in order for that to work.
Yeah, I mean, he's clearly like just itching for attention. I've had conversations with him.
Doesn't have a life, I don't think.
They like to claim cowardice until you actually show up and smack him in the face, like I did with Jill earlier today. Jill claimed that I was being a coward, and then I went and debated him, and he did so bad.
He is a smart guy, but I'm going to go back to another comment in the chat here. Somebody, Donald Goodnight, if you could highlight that. He says he can't donate blood because of a rare blood disease. Now, got some real good news for you, Donald. Canadian Blood Services will take tainted blood. We'll take blood that has diseases because they will use it for research purposes. Contact them; they'll get you set up, and that way.
Don doesn't live in Canada, dude.
Yeah, it can be. Sorry,
Don doesn't live in Canada.
Oh, well, maybe they'll know someone in his country who can who will also
From the
be
U.S. He's in our group.
Okay.
He's in my Neil's Usual Suspects.
Oh,
He's Don.
Don Goodnight. I know him as Don, not as Donald. Sorry, the name's slightly different. I'm thinking it's a completely different person. Hi, Don. Sorry about that. I didn't connect the dots. Thanks for that, Neil.
Well,
I didn't drink any beer today. That must be my problem.
and
you drank.
I don't get why.
That's why I keep having this problem.
Yeah, me too, because I don't drink anymore. But I don't get why America doesn't do that either. You would think that you could use blood from anybody as long as you know what you're getting. I don't know.
Well, no, the thing is, it can look like the same thing, but it can still be slightly different, or you're overwhelming the person's system. But if it's used for research purposes, for experimentation,
they do
that's
that
what I'm
UBC.
saying.
Because
that's what I'm saying.
They don't have to take from the pool of untainted blood. They can use this other stuff, and they say, okay, we're not testing for this particular disease, so we got a whole bunch of different samples we can take from. That kind of stuff, right? It really helps a lot with the initial research, and then the good blood is still saved for everybody else.
I have to say something else. I see Purple's comment in the U.S. Blood drives still discriminate against. It's not exactly a discrimination. What they do, they have to be careful when they donate blood, because there is a chance that blood could be tainted from the LGBTQ community, because there are diseases that. How do I say this without sounding like an asshole? Because I know that like things like AIDS is everybody, but you understand, like there's folks that are more susceptible to specific types of diseases than others, and they don't allow people from specific communities because of these kinds of reasons. And it's not because they are who they are; it's because they don't want to hurt recipients of the blood, people that may not have an immune system. I know this is going to sound like I'm an asshole, but this is not what I'm intending. It's not about that. It's about making sure the people that receive the blood aren't harmed because of something that could be in the blood. That's what it's about. It's not that they dislike them. It's because of the people that receive the blood donations that they don't want to be harmed. Now, here in Canada, they've changed that a little bit. If you are a member of that community or one's similar, you can be tested. And if you come up clear, you can donate. They've changed that. It's not about discrimination. It's about safety for the recipient.
Which is something that I think we should definitely be doing here in the States as well. But again, hopefully progress will happen. And it's such a good cause to do it, because especially in the times of this pandemic is really needed. And especially if you have the antibodies from COVID-19, like they need your plasma.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yep.
All right.
Those are part of the questionnaire now too. So
yeah.
So everybody who donates blood, thank you very much, and everybody who wants to, thank you very much. Please promote it.
Yeah, and go out and give blood. Like I give blood.
It's a wonderful thing to donate blood because you're helping people you don't even know. Christopher Hitchens promoted it as well.
Yeah,
Purple. If you lived here, you'd be able to. Just saying. If you haven't slept with anyone in 6 years, then you'd be able to, no problem.
Bony Beetle Maniacs. If atheism is the default, he says it's not the default. So
sure it is.
It's not the default. My question to them is, maybe you can highlight their question on the screen there. If it isn't the default, then which deity or deities are newborn babies born believing in? That's how I respond to that always, because maybe they have a misunderstanding about what atheism is, and that does come up sometimes. They conflate it with an anti-theistic point of view that makes a specific claim that deities don't exist. But as an atheist, I just don't believe. I'm not making that claim, as Neil was pointing out earlier as well.
And not caring is actually called apatheism.
Yeah, that's a different thing, though. Yeah.
And I'm fairly apatheist. I don't care if there are gods, because if there are any, they ain't interacting with us. That's for fucking sure.
Yeah, I think that's where I'm at. Like, I don't believe in any gods. I don't really care if there are any gods. I just, I'm in it for the triggering. I like to trigger certain individuals because I find it funny. I'm totally kidding, and I'm poking at Smokey right now. I know you're watching, Smokey. This ain't about you, I promise. We're talking to atheists tonight.
But I do enjoy the comments. It's quite interesting.
Yeah. Well, and he's not even here. Duncan is usually not a troll I get very often anymore.
Agnostic's not the default either.
Yeah, he's got so many atheists to troll that I must be on the wide patterns because he only comes around every once in a while.
I would say that agnosticism is also the default because it's not knowing whether deities exist or not. You know,
Icarus got it right. Babies are innocent. They can't answer the question because they don't know what it is.
I mean, that would be my position. I think that you have to have a position and not have a position.
No, I don't think so. I think it's a classification.
Yeah, I think it's
very simple. You believe in deities. If the answer isn't yes, you're an atheist. It's very simple.
See, again, this is what makes us atheists. We disagree on shit.
Yep. And we move on. You have another question?
We move on, yeah. It's not that big a deal, you know.
But this is fundamental to what we're promoting with Canadian Atheists, to normalize.
And however you answer that question, is a baby an atheist or not? What happens is what happens is regardless, those babies are growing up and being indoctrinated into these religions and not giving a real true independent voice or choice, you know, because you can't make that choice as a child. It's something like I totally try to tell Jill earlier, like you can't make you can't be a voluntary slave if you're being taken into slavery or you're being born into slavery, because as a baby you can't make that choice. But that's what's at the heart of it all is these children are being indoctrinated into a religion.
There's a psychological
not coming to it naturally. I think is the point of it.
I think it's unfair to say that they're all being indoctrinated, though. I think what happens is there's a natural tendency for young children to try to please the adults who care for them.
Yeah, emulate the parents.
The adults just go to church once in a while and they see reading the Bible, and they're not pushing the kids. The kids will still very often try to do the same thing, mimic the parents' behavior. It's a common thing that happens with children, young children especially. And so in that case,
I agree.
They're just kind of falling into it. They're not being pushed or forced into it. But the effect, I guess, the end result is that they end up believing in it nonetheless.
Well, yeah, and I think that those end up being the people like your more fundamental cultist aspects, Matt Powell and IFB. These are the people that they're looking for because they already have those roots, and now they can just implant all of their ideas into them. And it's easy to do. I've seen it happen to people that just were kind of raised like I was into a family. Like, yeah, we believed in God. Every once in a while, our grandma would take us to church, but we were also partying our asses off, drinking beer. They were cursing. You know, there is that element of Christianity that I think YouTube Christianity doesn't quite recognize. Is just the everyday Joe Christian who, yeah, he believes in God, but he doesn't follow any of that shit.
He doesn't push it, or yeah.
And Phony Beetle Maniacs makes a comment in the chat. He's saying, but indoctrination is not child abuse. Yes and no. It depends. It depends on how the methods are being used for the indoctrination. Sometimes indoctrination can be extremely abusive, you know, and if it's inflicted on children in a very bad way. So really, it depends. It's very scenario dependent.
My opinion on that particularly, I've had streams about it. I do believe that indoctrination of a child is child abuse, and I am open to have anybody, atheist or non-atheist, on to come and have a conversation about whether or not it is. And I'll get my opinions, and you'll be free to give your opinions, and it can be a civil discussion. But that has been my opinion. I've stated it, and nobody's really wanted to come and argue with me about it.
I think if parents if parents are religious and they want their children to be interested, I personally think that there should be an age limit, that they shouldn't be allowed to be, or they should be allowed to be able to choose at some point if they want to be involved in that belief system or not. They shouldn't be just automatically brainwashed into it, for lack of a better word, or indoctrinated, I guess is a better word. But
like I try not to with my kid. Like you know, as far as I know, she still believes in a God, but she does hear the things that I say now. She hasn't been to church in a while, not since my mom died, really. So you know, I understand that even though
to you and your family.
Well, I appreciate it, but you know, like I have this understanding that even though I'm not trying to indoctrinate her, that I am indoctrinating her just by being around her, because as you said, most children want to emulate their parents. I am a hero figure, if not a God figure to her. Of course she's going to want to be like me. And I really I've tried all these rules to keep her separated from this. And at some point, I mean, as she gets older and more independent, I just can't do that. I just can't.
Oh, she'll make up her mind of what she wants.
Yeah, now she's getting to the point that she can start making up her own mind about these things, and so it's a very complex conversation. But again, it goes down to the normalization of atheism. Right here, it's quite normal for Christians to do that to children. But I can't tell you how many times I've been attacked for indoctrinating my child, even though I don't. Right. So, I mean, this is a very two-way, double-edged sword here, where Christians can do it, but atheists can't.
My advice to you when you do discuss indoctrination with people is probably start off by clarifying what is meant by indoctrination.
Yeah. Because I think that most Christians would agree that indoctrinating a child into atheism would be morally wrong in their worldview.
I think many would. Yeah.
And yet, I can't see that them indoctrinating their children into their religion as morally wrong. See, it doesn't go both ways there.
Because they think they've got the market on morals. Yeah. That's why.
Yeah.
Even though they've been around long before the Abrahamic religions.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
The Catholic Church is a stellar example of morals. Oh boy. I'm being sarcastic.
If Sergeant Jim is in the chat, you're going to trigger him. Sorry, Sergeant Jim, but we make fun of Catholics too. I still like you because you're hard on Smokey.
I got to see what he has to say about me then. All right. I look forward to that. Go ahead, hit hard. I can take it.
Rage said hard on.
Yeah. and somebody's going to cut that out. Probably Matt Powell. And
probably. He challenged me too, by the way.
It will become like I have a hard on for Neil, so he will make that happen.
Call me.
Because I just said it too. I mean, what the fuck am I thinking? All right, so does American evangelicism have effects in Canada? Because I think America has a particular brand of evangelicism. Does that affect Canada?
Yes. We laugh at you like no tomorrow.
That's a good answer. I wish Americans would laugh at American evangelicism.
You can laugh at Canadian evangelicalism if you like.
I do.
Seriously though,
we got 700 Club or something, I think.
Yeah, it is. There is ongoing interaction because we're neighbors. Directly next to each other, and we're traversing the border on a daily basis.
U.S. is our short. Florida's the little out of the fly. Never mind.
And what do you say about Alaska? That's how we see Russia, right? Okay. That's how we keep an eye on Russia.
Hey, whoa! Yeah, that's Prophet of Zod's job because he lives up there.
Oh, okay. Yeah. We can't rely on Sarah Palin for that.
I was going to say Sarah Palin can see it from her backyard,
Yeah, but I don't know how reliable her reports are. So, there is this constant ongoing interaction, which I think is great because we should be on good terms with our neighbors, and so of course there's going to be cultural influences that carry in both directions as well. So we'll see a lot more similarities between us and Americans than say us and people on another continent who still speak English as well. So it's so I would say yes, the American evangelicalism does have some kind of effect on us, but then our evangelicals will have effect there as well. It goes both ways. And I would say that it's a good thing because it keeps things more interesting in our cultures. So,
phony Beatlemaniacs, that Jesus exists as a human, that's still unknown. People don't actually know that. So if you actually say that, you've adopted the burden of proof to demonstrate that is a fact.
It's a claim.
There's zero actual historical evidence that would actually say.
and that's actually a huge debate that I would say that more and more scholars are coming out. Like more and more legitimate scholars are coming out and taking this position, and it's a position that could ruin a lot of their careers.
It's a character, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I think we're going to see more and more
from people at that time, but still.
Just to be fair, I think that anybody
rabbi or something.
And just to be fair, I think anybody who claims that Jesus was not a real human also carries some kind of burden of proof, because they have to actually be able to justify that claim. So it works both ways.
Well, he wouldn't have, because he's divine, right? So he's not a real human, regardless.
Yeah, my position is that there could have been a rabbi.
Some itinerant rabbi from back in the day. Yeah,
but not a king, just definitely a rabbi? Not a king, just a rabbi.
Yeah, but definitely the Jesus of the Bible didn't exist as it's told in the Bible. You know, I mean, that's and I think when it comes to historicity, the more I look into it, I don't think that there is much evidence that Jesus did actually exist as a human. I think that there's evidence that stories of other people were kind of forced into this legend.
Don't know who,
but that's a huge debate again, where people make claims on both sides, and we only have
so many contradictions. They don't know who wrote the Gospels.
There's only a little bit of history there to really go by too. So, like, we're both trying to lay claims to that history.
They demonstrated that the Dead Sea Scrolls are bullshit and faked.
Yeah.
It's
my favorite conversation right now. Right now. This
historians state is the case. Yet, which historians? Give us something.
I'll be right back. I'll be right back on the camera.
Anyway, it's a little disappointing because Sea Scrolls sound kind of cool.
Dead Sea Scrolls? Yeah. I actually saw them in Israel when I was in Israel. I actually saw bits and pieces of them.
I still have a book around here somewhere that has some of those Gospels from the Dead Sea Scrolls. It's the Gospel of Mary Magdalene, the Gospel of Peter.
Okay.
There's a reason they were hidden away and buried.
Yeah, they're not like the Gospels you're used to reading at all. They're Gnostic, and they're very weird. The Gospel of Mary Magdalene was super, super weird.
They're completely fabricated, like completely made up.
I heard there's another big section.
Bart Ehrman
books. I've heard there's other big.
Sorry,
it's okay. Go ahead. I've heard there's other big sections of the Bible that didn't get included in it that talk about the life and times of Jesus in his first 30 years. And so there's a big gap there. What didn't get accepted as canon or something.
Yeah, I've heard that various
lots of stuff wasn't accepted.
And he did some nasty things to some of his friends just to prove he could or something. And it's just
Revelations wasn't canon until the Nicene thing or whatever.
Okay.
They figured, oh, hell, this could be useful. So they added it as canon. It was considered blasphemous at one time.
Yeah, there was the Nicene Council and several councils after that they did burn a lot of the holy text. I know early Christians burned a lot of the Roman and Greek schools of philosophy. There's a lot. I mean, man, looking into the history of it has been probably the best part of my YouTube experience. And getting to know actual scholars that look into it has been the best part, because, man, I'm like so far deep into this shit now. Like I'm looking at Paul the Apostle in a way that I never would have imagined as a Christian. I'm going so far deep into the history of who was Paul, why was Paul, and why did Paul claim to be an apostle, to where most Christians just accept it. Like, oh yeah, he's an apostle.
He had a hallucination. Okay, that's why.
No, he literally hijacked the religion. That's where I'm getting to. Now, that's a highly contentious statement for me to make, so Christians be triggered.
Well, let's not just focus on one religion here. You know, there's others. Like, you've heard of the Kahuna religion, have you? It's Hawaii's ancient polytheistic faith that originated in ancient Hawaiian culture, 500 CE.
No, I do know a little bit about Hawaii and how we purchased it, and native culture. They were like fierce warriors.
Yep. But they had some weird ideas too. Like they had ideas like women shouldn't eat certain red foods or pork or banana or coconut because they symbolize the male sex. And they made women during their menstruation cycle, they had to leave the town for a while, and all kinds of crazy stuff like that.
I have to address a comment. Yo, it's whatever. Why is it that people are willing to go so far to write off Christianity. It's not that we're writing off Christianity, we're writing off what we consider to be fallacious beliefs. Why not just allow people to choose what they want to believe? Well, you don't choose your beliefs. You're either convinced of something or you're not. And why do we want people to allow people to choose what they want to believe? Well, let me ask you this. Are you okay with the beliefs of ISIS or the Nazis? Are you okay with those beliefs? Or how about the beliefs of David Koresh when he started up that cult? Is that okay with you? Or how about the beliefs of people that go around down in the U.S. there every once in a while and shoot up schoolyards? Are you okay with those beliefs? Not all beliefs are good. And beliefs inform your actions, and your actions have consequences.
Well, and I've had this debate recently out of nowhere. There for a very long time, Christianity had a chokehold on Western civilization, and oftentimes pagans, people that believed in magic, or non-believers would be put to death. And they're still being put to death under Abrahamic laws in Muslim countries. I talk about it. We talk about it every Sunday on Apostate Alliance. Why? Yeah, I mean, traditionally speaking, and I know like Christians love to bring up Mao and the USSR, which has nothing at all to do with atheism. It wasn't traditionally speaking. Yeah, traditionally speaking, more harm has been done in the name of Christianity than
of a God. Period.
Yeah, of a God. Period.
Any deity.
But I mean, there's reasons to stand against Christianity, but I do think that we should be careful and not broad brush, which I do a lot, and I try not to, but it's really hard not to. And differentiate that there are still good human beings that are Christians, and I try to do that. But at the same time, we should stand in opposition to something that we find harmful if we find it harmful.
Yep. Guilt by association is a fallacy, but going against bad ideas, calling out against bad ideas is the right thing to do. Like slavery in the Bible, for example. I'm against that. Some people will defend it and say, well, it was okay because it was at that time. I said, it was never okay.
No, it's never okay to own another human being. I don't care what fucking time frame you're from.
And it's not okay if God orders it, or it's not okay if babies are murdered in the name of God, and it's not okay that right now we as a secular society, as a secular government here in America, I hope Canada isn't participating in this, but we are supporting Saudi Arabia in their embargo of Yemen that is still killing children to this very day. I mean, there are plenty of reasons to stand against these religions. So yeah, I don't really get the point. I mean, honestly, if you don't want to see that, and I've been in a room with you before, you seem like you're a somewhat decent person to talk to. Maybe just not come to the atheist sites where we're doing that. That would be my advice.
I see Kent Hoven's CPA is in the chat. I hope he approves of my shirt.
Yeah, Kent Hoven's CPA is did someone mention Red Wings? Of course, I highlighted that one. What's up, Kent Hoven, CPA? Yeah, he's a big time supporter. He's a person that has my phone number.
Oh wow, okay, I like him. He seems like a real nice guy.
Yeah, he's hilarious, and he has a really nice man. Nice man. All right, so
you recognize a lot of names there. Brainbug and Streamlabs. I've seen before.
Yeah, Tioga's here.
Introduced though.
Leo Filius is he's an up and comer. He knows this shit. He's got some good arguments. Korag's been around for a while. Chat's starting to pick back up. It's starting to get back to how it used to be. A lot of good people coming around.
I'm just kidding.
All right, so what pressing issues regarding atheism are you facing right now in Canada? So, like, what are the most pressing issues that you as an organization is facing, or you as an atheist are facing?
Well, we aren't really facing anything too pressing at the moment because we're starting at a time when atheism isn't being seriously challenged too much by the religious right. But by starting early, I figure...
It's not even at all, really, if you think about it, Randolph.
Well, there's a little bit. But yeah, essentially, you're right. But by doing this, from a strategic standpoint, this makes it a lot easier for us down the road when someone does speak up and try to push against atheism and atheists, because we are already established. And whereas if we were to wait before starting this organization until it got bad, then we'd have a much bigger task on our hands. We'd be trying to get organized and get established at the same time as pushing back. So in a sense, I think down the road, we've made things easier for ourselves here. So that allows us the luxury of taking more time to decide how to react to situations when they come up, and try to come up with the best possible reaction, because we don't have to react immediately. We can take our time.
Yeah.
See, Ken Hovine's, I earned my Red Wings. It looked like I got slaughtered in a deer in the whatever the hell it was.
Almost sounds like
naughty, naughty boy.
Almost sounds like a mafia reference.
That's been a thing since I think John Maddox came on the channel. Leave it to Kent Hovind CPA to bring some laughs. But so do you guys, like, in Canada, is there like the equivalent to what we have here, like the National Prayer Breakfast, or some huge lobby in government
I don't think
trying to blur the lines?
Not that I'm aware of, but I am concerned that there could be, but I don't know. So that's why I'm concerned that there could be. I'm not into conspiracies and things like that, so this is why I'm not making assumptions. But, there is certainly, I think, like we had the Trinity Western University a few years ago that had a covenant that prevented students from, it encouraged students to think on each other for homosexual activities and things like that. And they were insisting everybody joins their school has to sign this covenant. And if you don't, and you can't sign it if you're gay, for example. So they, that is, of course, a violation of our Charter of Rights and Freedoms, again, the non-discrimination clause, which is in our Constitution. So this ended up getting fought all the way up to the Supreme Court of Canada. And I even talked to the Law Society here in BC myself about this before all that happened, and encouraged them to do this. And I said to them, look, you find out from your lawyers what all your members what should do. And so the lawyers all decided, they voted in favor, most of them voted in favor of saying, yeah, you can't do this. Because what happens is Trinity Western University is a religious school, but it is
right here
also
in
a law
school.
Yeah, it is here in BC, and it is also a law school. Now, my understanding is that the number of law degrees that can be issued each year is limited. It's finite. It's not infinite. So because of that, they're interfering with equality under the law. This is not the angle that they took in the court.
Know better.
I even challenged their. I put the challenge to them. Hey, I'll take on one or multiple of your law professors. I'm not a lawyer, but I was willing to take them on because I know the charter pretty well, and I would be prepared to study extra hard before the debate happened. And take them on it. And they never got back to me. I just assumed they were busy. Some people come up with other assumptions, but I'm going with that because I think that's the only one that I can really go with. I was kind of disappointed because I would have really enjoyed having that debate, even on their campus with their professors. I would have been willing to do it. So what happened is the Supreme Court ruled that they can't discriminate with that covenant for law classes. So unfortunately, that doesn't preclude them from that court decision doesn't preclude them specifically from doing that for other parts of their university, though. And they're arguing freedom of religion and things like that. So I suspect that Law Society and the groups that were against them didn't go for the equality under the law aspect. I suspect that was more of kind of a backup plan, because that one would be pretty powerful as well, but it would be harder to argue.
Yeah, and I know that the National Prayer Breakfast especially has really started to spread tentacles into other nations. And yeah, I don't like really getting into conspiracy theories either. I know for a fact that they have a legitimate power base here in the United States, but this is something that I'm personally interested in, to see if they are starting to spread their tentacles into our neighboring countries especially. I know that they've got them in Africa already. So
Neil, we should
jumping.
we should start a national atheism breakfast.
Yeah, we should. Well,
Yeah.
I've often said that, especially here in America, we need at least a non-believer lobby as equally powerful as the religious lobby, whether that be agnostic, theist, or whatever.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of getting into the political side of it myself. I like to kind of leave that as a separate thing. But unfortunately, in the U.S., we do see that religion seems to be very deeply entwined into politics.
Yeah.
Intertwined into politics. It's here we have 5 parties, so we don't see the polarization that you see in the U.S. And I do think the U.S. would do very well if you had 5 parties, even 3. You have an odd number of parties, minimum 3. That would really make a difference.
Yeah, I agree.
It would help kind of make things healthier and less polarized. And I do think I do worry about the USA, about America having this polarization in politics, because I do think it's not good. It's very divisive because it's just limited to 2 major parties. And when you see people who say voting for independence or some other party is a waste of the vote, it makes me feel sad, because it feels like it's not an honest democracy in a sense.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly.
We have people here who kind of make such comments as well. We're not immune to it. There's a little bit of polarization, but it's not just against the other, because we have 5 parties.
Yeah.
Major.
Yeah, it does seem like Canadian politics, from what I paid attention to, is a lot healthier than the state that we have here in America, because we are very polarized and divided here.
Well, one of the other problems, a very important systemic problem that you guys have, I think, is that you don't have a national organization that's mandated to ensure that to take steps to measures to make sure that every citizen gets to vote. Here we have Elections Canada, and then each province has elections for the province. So here in BC, we have Elections BC, and these are nonpartisan. The politicians can't interfere with them the way they're set up. They have to be impartial, and so you have people coming in and working there, and they take their job seriously, and it works quite well because we have a national standard. My understanding of the U.S. is that it's on a per state basis how they handle the federal elections, and I do think that is very sad, because you don't have the consistency all across the board there.
Yeah. And it's led to hell on the streets. Go ahead, Neil.
Yeah, I've been trying to get something in here for a bit now.
Oh, sorry, Neil. I didn't realize. Yeah.
I have to take off. So.
Oh.
Right.
Yeah, I've actually ran longer than I had planned. But I mean, I could sit here and talk to you two guys all freaking night. So.
Did you want to throw question 10 at Neil, or did you really have to head off right this minute?
No, I have to head off right this minute.
Okay.
All right. Well, I'll just save the last question.
4 minutes to get out of here. So.
All right. Yeah, I'll save the last question for just Randolph. Thank you so much for coming on.
About his program first. Thanks for coming, Neil. I'm so glad you're here.
Oh, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
First of all, yes, and phony Beatlemaniacs, you can do your best research all you want, but if you let your bias get into the way, you're not going to find truth, and you're not going to find answers. Just so you know.
Find it and you'll miss it.
All right. Anyways, I'm Neil, the 604 Atheist. If you like hearing how people found their way out of their belief systems, you've come to the right channel. Also, I also talk to polytheists as well, because they've left some hardcore like Abrahamic religion or a belief similar to that and gone into polytheism, which I was once a polytheist as well. So I have a special kind of place in my heart for them as well. So there you go. And that's what I do. I've got lots and lots of videos up there already. I started this over 2 years ago. And I've had Knock On. I've had, not Randolph. Randolph interviewed me, actually. And he's in all my after parties.
It was for April Fools, and it was fun. I enjoyed it.
That was great.
Lots of folks pop on my show that you know, like Eric Murphy, Vila Bianca, Seth Andrews, Aaron Raw. They've all been on. David Worley's been on. Knox been on. I already said that. And many of them jump in my after parties, like Genetically Modified Skeptic or Objectively Dan jumps in quite a few times. And of course, Bionic Dance jumps in a few times. So look out for the after parties too. They're a lot of fun. And Knock, thanks, man, for having us on. I appreciate that very much. It helps us get a little bit more out there. And don't forget to tune in. We'll let you know when, but don't forget to tune in to True North Talk coming in the future with Randolph and myself having chit chats with believers like we've been doing sort of in the chat today.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming on, Neil. This was awesome having both of you on. So thank you.
One more thing.
Yeah.
Phony Beatlemaniacs, don't trust your gut. You do not have to go with your gut. As a matter of fact, studies have shown that your gut is more often wrong than it is right. But we all, as human beings, because it's kind of part of our nature, we count all the hits and forget about all the misses. The misses outnumber your hits probably 11-1. So there you go. Never trust your gut.
Embrace doubt. It can be your greatest ally.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Agree.
My gut's been wrong more times than right so often. It's crazy.
Me too. A life full of failure.
And we'll see you on the weekend, Neil.
Yeah, you bet, man. Peace out, guys. Thanks for having me.
Have a great night, Neil. All right, so the last question is I think we've already kind of addressed it, but what issues, if any, do you find in atheist or skeptic communities that we should be addressing? That could be local communities, but I'm talking more along the lines of the online community here on YouTube. If you see any issues, if not, that's fine as well. I've got a couple.
Yeah, I see a lot of diversity. I see sometimes there's expectations from others that we should police ourselves, which I think is a ridiculous thing to ask because we are so diverse. As soon as you're requiring us to police ourselves, then the big elephant in the room starts to come in, the elephant of conformity. What are we conforming to? So now we have to decide what to conform to. And so as an advocate for freedom, I just can't get on board with that. There are certain things that I will call out. People are being discriminatory and things like that, because those are values that are important to me. Not necessarily to me as an atheist, but to me personally. And that's as far as I can go, because I can't be an official representative of atheism since it's just not believing in deities. There's nothing else to say that represents it, because there is no consistency because of all that diversity. What are the issues that you see, though?
Well, like mine is like along the same lines. It's I don't really. Oh yeah, go ahead.
No problem. I'll talk to them later. Yeah.
Mine is like it's along the same lines. I think that, policing our own. What is policing atheism? Like, I will call people out, like as you said, for like racial stuff or things that I stand for as a human being, and it has nothing to do with atheism. And I'll call them out whether they're an atheist, a Christian, or whatever they are over those things. But like when it comes to like, you shouldn't have this atheist on because he says these things or he believes these things. He doesn't believe the same politically that we believe. I do see a bit of that. Like, we need to have this group think or these safe zones. And I have never been for that. And I think that we do ourselves a disservice when it comes to normalizing atheism if we're pointing fingers at atheists and say, no, you're atheisting wrong. I have a huge problem with that.
I do think that's a problem. I haven't really encountered very much of that, but I do know it exists, and I agree with you. It is not conducive, because it's just like saying, "Oh, you're not being a human properly." It's like,
yeah.
It's just as nonsensical. And,
I think we should call out like really atrocious behavior, whether they be atheist or not.
I agree.
It has nothing to do with the atheism or any of that. So but luckily I don't think that it's like prominent in these communities. But I just certain segments like to go around and put in their will or whatnot.
Does seem to be a drive from certain people to make it an issue, and when I look at this, I'm thinking, I think that any kind of restriction on abortion is wrong. I'm pro-abortion all the way right to just prior to birth, and because it's somebody's it's a freedom of choice, right? But then what happens is I have there are atheists who are against abortion. It happens. Can I just? I'll be right back.
Oh yeah, go for it. So this has been a great discussion. We won't be going too much longer. I need to go check on my daughter, make sure that she's good, and make sure she did her shot. which I think I saw her doing her shot. But this has been a great conversation. But yeah, welcome back, Randolph.
Yeah. So the abortion thing, yeah. So to me, I see that when there is a restriction imposed on abortion, it's a freedom issue. It's a human rights issue, and there are religious people who are against it, and religious people are for it. There are atheists against it, and atheists are for it. My experience has been the majority of religious people are against abortion, and the majority of non-religious people are fine with it. They don't have a problem with it. So I see it as you've got a pregnant person who should have liberty of the person as a human right, the freedom to choose whether or not to continue with that. And when somebody comes along and says, no, you can't make this choice. You're not allowed to have this because whatever their belief is, that is basically human slavery. And I'm against slavery. So, it's to me, that's an ethical problem. So I will call out against people, for example, who are promoting the idea that abortion should be restricted. Here in Canada, it's perfectly legal. I know that it's a hit and miss thing depending on which state you're in your country.
Mm. Yeah,
unless I'm wrong about that.
No, you're completely right about that. And and that's what it boils down to is we can have disagreements as long as it's like not a deep moral issue as like racism or whatever. Like I'm not in the business of canceling anybody and saying, no, you're wrong for this, you're wrong for that. I'll have a conversation and argue with you. And yeah, I think that's been the main thing, at least that I've dealt with here on the channel. Is not to have this person or, not to have Jill on because Jill doesn't talk to women. Well, then, that's good. I don't want Jill on when I have a room full of women because I don't want him disrespecting women, but I can still go and have some fun conversations with an idiot and not have to worry about any of that. Like, I'm not going to cancel somebody just to cancel them or because you tell me to. Sure. And people have had issues with that. And that's probably like the only real thing about this community since I've been in it that I really haven't liked, because people on the most part have been open, have accepted me despite me being the raging atheist or taking whatever approaches I might take or making whatever edited videos that I might make. Most people have welcomed me with open arms. It's just that small element. And it's like, that it makes me cringe. I don't like that.
And that, again, is a reflection of the diversity. So there will be people that we don't get along with in the community. Yeah. That's pretty normal with humans. There's lots of us we don't get along with. It's normal. Unfortunately, it's that point of finding unity isn't there. But in a sense, that lack of unity is also our advantage, because when people try to attack us on a single point, it's very easy to say, hey, look, we don't necessarily all agree on these topics. So you're going to have to find some other way to criticize us. And it really takes away their options, and they don't like it. And that's why there's so much motivation by these people to team vilify, as I call them, to try to stereotype us. And so we'll stand against the stereotypes. I always will. Yeah. There's I see all kinds of crazy attempts at vilification all the time. It's minor stuff, very subtle stuff. So I tend to just ignore it and let it go. But if it's something that's significant enough, I'll challenge it. I don't have time to challenge all of them. That's the only reason why I don't. So you pick your battles, right? So, but I think this whole idea that we should have some sense of unity and that we should police ourselves, I think is a trap, and it's one that we mustn't fall into. It's one we must embrace our diversity. We must embrace our freedoms. We must embrace doubt. We must embrace all these different things as human beings, because that's good for us.
Well, yeah, and that's the greatest thing about this community, I think, is our diversity. Like I've met scientists now, science communicators. I've met philosophy geeks. I've met history buffs. I've met so many different types of people. Right-wing people that I absolutely adore, like Sock Account, who is your basic Canadian conservative guy. Man, I love that man. Never before, like I don't like conservatives. What are you talking about? But like there's so many different types of people that I've met in this community and found support with. that I never really had before. So like when I'm saying that, look, that's just like a very small problem in a community that I think is really good and doing not only me but a lot of people good, because like I said, you're making that community in Canada in your area right there, and that's great. And Austin has what they have down there, and there's certain pockets across this country at least that has that. But a lot of us, we don't have anything but this community online right here, and so I think that it's very important. And yeah, policing our own. No, I'm not going to police my own, but I'll call my own out for some bullshit.
Yeah, of course. And then that I think is the right approach. It's because then we're not imposing some kind of strange standard on people that can get misinterpreted and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So the freedom is the base of where it's all at.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, such a great conversation. I want to thank you, Randolph, for coming on, and I want to give you a chance to anything you got coming up. I don't know, maybe a possible debate with Duncan Atheism again.
Nothing's been arranged yet, but I'm certainly open to that. Again, I'm Randolph Richardson with the Canadian Atheists, and our website address is www.canadianatheists.ca. It was really a pleasure to be on the program here with you. Thank you very much, and thank you for giving me and Neil a chance to present ourselves and talk about what we do. It's great working with Neil, and what we do have coming up is we're looking at setting up the True North Talk program, of course, the call-in show. So it's, we already have the website mostly done. It's truenorthtalk.ca, and our hope is that the program will work out really well. Mikey Famine is going to help produce the show for us, and he's very good at that stuff. Mm-hmm. His skill is amazing. It's wonderful that he's involved. I really like him. And Inquisitive Quandary is going to be looking after moderating the live chat for us, and so that's great. We've got people who are take care of everything. He's really good at that as well. Very smart guy. So it's good, and you need that kind of smarts to be on the ball with some of the crazy things that go on in the chats when they get super busy. So our intention will be to promote the other shows as well, and we want to make sure that the scheduled time is not at the same time of any of theirs, so that people don't have to choose which show to watch. They can catch them all.
Yeah, so, that's awesome. I can't wait for it.
Yeah, it's been a long time in the making, and it looks like we may be getting close in the coming months. So, what you said about community, I think, is so important. It is it's a challenge right now with COVID-19 because we're all pretty well constrained to being online, but that will change as the vaccines become available, and looks like the progress in that area is going well, as they're asking regular people to join the trials, as I understand it. So to me, that's really good, the whole peer review process and all that. So, and I suspect with so many people who just aren't taking it seriously, tragically and very unfortunately, for a lot of them, and a lot of people that they interact with are at greater risk as well. It's awful. I suspect that it's really not going to go away, unfortunately, until vaccines are out and become widespread available. And then once that happens, then things will be a lot better for everybody. I wished people would take it more seriously. So
me too. Yeah, especially here in my state, because nobody seems to be taking it seriously here. But yeah, great point. And hopefully we will get back to normal soon. Let me get it back there. There we go. Wrong one. All right. I want to thank you, Randolph, for coming on. I want to thank Neil, the 604 Atheist, for coming on.
Thanks,
Doing
Neil.
Great work up there. And chat, if you're interested, you can find Randolph on Twitter. You can find Neil, the 604 Atheist, on Twitter. Any questions, feel free to ask them. Links are in the description below. Thank you guys for being here. And as always, I'll see you soon.
Thanks again, Noka.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Randolph. You guys have a great night.
Good night, everyone.
As long as